So I woke up, we did turnover, and then I went and changed because I would play basketball after work, but I was taking my son to the beach. I just had my son in April, so it was July. So we're taking him to the beach for the first time. And I went and changed, and I was walking down the pier, and I heard the bells ring. And I was with my buddy, and we were right at the ECP, and I saw smoke. And, fires happen and everything. And I thought it was like a welding fire. And my chief comes running up, and he's like, hey, they need help on the boat. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go help out. And my buddy was like, deuces, man, have a good weekend. And he left. So, so he made chief. So he picked up chief. So, but, I went on there, and there was like a fire. There was like a legit fire going on. People were dressing out, and I was like, oh, damn, I need to go dress out. I was in civilian clothes. So I went to my shop, which was back aft, and I put on, my uniform was in my rack up forward, but it was completely smoked out. So like, I'm not going to my berthing. So I went back aft and just put on somebody's FRVs, which were like entirely too small. I looked like a Blue Angel pilot. They were like skin tight on me. But I was like, I showed up and I was like, hey, I'm ready. I'm a team leader. Put me on a host team. Let's go. It's time to get after it.
That's incredible, man. And that's like really what happens when shit hits the fan, right? Like, hey, we gonna figure this out. You know what I mean? So, so let's just get into it, man. So you were actively attacking this casualty, right? Do you remember this full stop, or is some hazy kind of things?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good memory. I wrote a lot of it down as part of my therapy and stuff. So the actual casualty, the fire, we couldn't get access to it. There was problems with the water. There was issues with fed fire. It was just kind of a cluster as far as getting down there and putting water on the fire. So I had a team. We descended down to the lower V, not the lower V, the upper V. But they were having issues with the hoses and the water and stuff. So we came back up, and then that's when they announced that all evacuation of the ship. Like it was getting out of control. It started coming up into the upper V of the ship. And so like the lower V is where all the vehicles for the Marines are at. And then the upper V is kind of like the staging area to go into the well deck. And so we were all assembled in the hangar bay, which is up one more deck. After they gave the evacuation notice, one of the scene leaders like, hey, I need you to go make sure there's nobody else in the berthing. So I was like, all right. And I was like, you four coming with me. And we ended up going into the ship through the galley. And I knew my berthing was right below the galley. And so we went there. We went to the chief's berthing. Nobody's there. We went to our berthing. And of course, one of my sailors is in the berthing on his iPhone with headphones in. He's like, wow, what's up, AS1? And I'm like, we're like fully fitted out with air on. He's like, oh, I thought that was a drill. And I'm like, bro, it's Sunday. They don't run drills on Sunday. Like the ship's on fire. And he's like, wow, I thought it was getting kind of smoky in here. And I'm like, bro, we got to go now. They just evacuated the ship. Like he had no idea. And
that's crazy.
I pointed at two of the sailors. Mind you, I don't know who these sailors are. Like they got the masks on without the SCBA, the regulator on. So all I see is just eyes. I'm like, you two take him back to the hangar bay. And so now we keep going forward. I know it was just three of us. And so it was me and one other sailor. And so we're trekking through and we go all the way up forward to the ship and it's getting hot now. So like the fire was right below us and it's like hot. It's completely smoked out. So now you can't see anything. And we ended up breaking into this, the MWR space, I think all the way up forward by the gym. And there was this girl in there. And I think she was either passed out or she was sleeping. She didn't know what was going on. I was like, ship's on fire. We got to go right now. And she stepped out onto the hallway. And I mind you, like you couldn't see anything. And she started freaking out. And she didn't want to leave. And it's like, we have to go. And my biggest mistake is I didn't know where the EBDs were at, which that's pretty much the whole purpose of those things is the quick. And I didn't know where they're at because we were just out of the yards and they were all scattered all over the place. And I was like, breathe into your shirt and like stay low. So I had my one sailor that was with me. They were in front and then she was in the middle. And then I was like pushing them through and you couldn't see anything. Then damn timer starts going off. So my light in the mask was like orange, red. So I knew like, yeah, we got to get out of here. It's like the floor's bubbling, like the paint and everything, like the damn light covers are melting. So I was like, we got to go fast. So I'm like pushing them through. We get to the galley and I'm like, I hope to God we don't fall because they had taken all the tables out. So there was like these stubs of metal everywhere. And I was like, if we trip on one of these things, we're going to be done. Right before we get into the galley, one of the sailors on my investigation team was coming back. So he had dropped off my sailor and was coming back to go in. And I grabbed him and I was like, where are you going? And he's like, I'm going to go find more people. I was like, no. I was like, you are not going by yourself. And I was like, we got to get out of here now. And I like grabbed him and we floored the train. And so we went to starboard side again to the wind tunnel. And then we stopped by the repair locker right there. And I knew they were having issues with the bottles because they were going through bottles so fast they only had like one recharging station. So I grabbed a bunch of bottles and tried to bring them with me on the packs. And we made it out of there. And like, we were like the last people on the ship. So I was like, we got to go. We were out of air, take my regulator off, but it was like smoked out. We get to the bridge or what do you call it? The elevator and then the brow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the brow.
And then that's when the explosion went off and it scared me. It like rocked my chest and it knocked the people forward, the people in front of me forward and we all fell. I was like, we got to get out of here. Like, I was just happy we were outside at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But apparently, like, smoke is just a bunch of unexpended, like, fire. So, like, when it accumulates together, eventually the heat will make it combust. And I'm sure Damon could talk more about that if he was here. But
yeah,
because I'm an aviation guy, I am not a DC. So if I'm wrong about any of this stuff, like, please don't, dude. I am not a DC.
I heard you start getting deep, like, hey, smoking unexpended fire, and I'm like,
it's unexpended.
Right.
So when it's supposed to vent, and it didn't vent in the galley where we were just at, and it exploded and it knocked us, it rocked us. And then, but I was happy we were outside because I knew we were close to safety. So we get down there and I was like, whew, I was like, that was intense. I like debriefed that, made sure I did a muster with all the people that I went down there with, the girl, I put eyes on them and I was like, all right, we're good. I got some Gatorade. And then of course, we're sitting there drinking our Gatorade. And this chief is like, hey, we're still fighting COVID, practice social distancing. And I was like, and I was like, come on, chief. Bless his heart.
I hope that chief is listening right now.
Chief said, hey, I'm a chief. I got a job to do.
At
Let
all
me go
times.
correct some sailors.
In the middle of a fucking fire. We are still practicing social distancing, ship
like,
day.
hey man, we ain't playing. It don't matter. So how long were you on SCBA, on the SCBA inside the ship for? Like 45 minutes or something?
It was, I would say I would think I'm in pretty good shape. So and I knew that if I start panicking, I'm going to start breathing heavy. Mm-hmm. But we tracked a long time. And like those sailors on my investigation team, they killed it. They absolutely killed it. Like staying with me and listening to me. And there was one time they looked at me and they were like waiting for instructions. I was like, oh, dang. Like, I'm the leader. Like they were relying on me. And that was a big deal to me that really stuck with me because they were like, depending on me. They're like their lives. And so, you know, I was like, all right, it's game time. Like, this is what we train for. And so, yeah, I would say like 45 minutes. And then we ran out of air, and I was just trying to like not breathe in all that, you know, metal and asbestos, whatever's on that ship that was burning. You know, I got asthma now. So
I was about to ask if you have any health issues.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that in a second. You ain't have enough time to feel fear, right? That's what I was gonna ask you. You ain't have enough time to feel fear in the moment, huh?
Yeah. So that's like one thing that we cover in therapy. They're like, what were you feeling at that time? Can you label your feelings? I was like, no. I was like, I wasn't feeling anything at one point. And there's a couple of other stories that are like more intense than that, that kind of stick with me more. But it's like, there's a point where you just have to like accept that you might die and be okay with that. And just kind of like, you were trained, like rely on your training. And like, if you get scared, or if you tense up and you fear it, like I don't know. Like, I can't put a feeling to it. I can't label that. I wasn't scared. I was just like, I might die, and I just have to accept that. And I don't know what's going to happen right now.